Okay, so I'm going to be explaining why I think you should use lists much more than you already use in R. Lists are pretty much the only thing I use whenever I'm writing R code, more than just normal usual variables and objects, because lists allow me to manipulate things in parallel and in ways that I just couldn't do with basic R. So I have this folder, this data. If I get in here, I have three folders, one, two, three, and in each one I have a copy of empty cars and iris, the basic data sets. This it's very common for you to get data in organized in this way. For example, you have a folder for every month, and let's say you have some different data for every month. So you have some data for January, some for February, etc. And you have it organized like this. This is how they give it to you. So I'm going to teach you how lists can help you read this data and how it can help you manipulate them and have a really, how do you say, like standard process for reading and manipulating data. So I'm going to start here an example file. Let me just open my R console right here. And let me start some writing. So I'm gonna just bring up the tidyverse. We're gonna be using the per package, but we could also just use lapply, but it helps out like that. So if I take a look at what's in my working directory, I have a folder called data. What's inside data? So if I go here, data, there's 1, 2, and 3. So let's test out how we would go by in a traditional way of reading this data and appending the difference. So I want to append the empty cars to the empty cars of 1 to the one of 2 to the one of 3. So I want to have them like in a single data frame. I want to do the same thing for iris. So iris for 1, I want to append it to iris of 2 and iris of 3. So you could probably just do a for loop or maybe an apply from 1 to 3, and then read the individual files. But I'm gonna go by a different route. So I'm gonna first I'm gonna create an index of the folders that I want to read on, and an index of the files that I want to read. So index files, this would be a list, right? I'm just gonna give them names. So empty cars will be empty cars.txt, and iris will be iris dot. Oh, it's txt, not csv. So .csv. Sorry, that's csv. So this would be my file index, and my index for my, let's say these are months, just for the sake of it, and I could call this January. So January would be 1, right? February would be 2, and and March would be 3, right? So one for every folder that I have here. So these are list objects. If I print out index files, give it a second. Index files, right? I get iris and empty cars, and if I do index months, I get 1, 2, and 3 with their respective names: January, February, and March. So how could I read all these files and have them in a concise R object? That's pretty easy. I could just do, let's say data. Well, data months, for example. And I could use per map, which is almost the same thing as lapply. .x. I want to iterate first through the index files, because I want to then join all of the same kind of files. And what function am I gonna pass on? I'm gonna create my own function. So this would be a function of the month. No, sorry, of the file. File name. Yep. And what I would do here is do the process. So I could do reader, read CSV, and what CSV do I wanna file path. Okay, no. Before this, I'm gonna wanna go ahead and iterate through the months. So I would do another per map, this time through index months. So dot x will be index months. My function would be a function of the month value, for example. And now I would do read CSV, and I would do here a file path. So I know it's all in the data folder, and it's gonna be under the name of the month, so month val, and then it's gonna be the file name. And this theoretically should create a list with all the data months, with all of the data frames from every month. So as you can see, Iris February, Iris January, and I have here Iris, and I have here, I should have empty cars March, empty cars February, and empty cars January. So this, I already have I write all the 6 files with a single command. And if I had more, I would just add here to the indexes, and it would be pretty easy to just execute this and get data. There's actually a function from library. I wrote library incorrectly, from library data table. That's pretty cool. It's called rbind list. Let me here do rbind list. And what it does, it binds all of the data frames inside a list. So I could just go here, out of pipe, rbind list, and I could do the same right here, rbind list. And if I execute this, it's going to give me, oh yeah, right, because I can't join Iris and empty cars, but it's fine like this. If I just run this, and if I look at data months, I'm going to have a single list with empty cars and Iris with the appended versions of the data frames. I could even add, if I'm not wrong, rbind list. If I look at the documentation, there's an argument. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can read it correctly. This one, ID call, which lets me use the names of the list as a column. So this is pretty cool because I can go here and add ID call and call it, for example, month. So now I'm going to have, if I run this again and I look at data months, I'm going to have a data frame with the data and a column that specifies which month it came from. So from January, from March. This is really convenient when joining data that you're reading and importing from a typical file system. So the cool thing is that you can do these types of iterations and use functions that bring lists as input to create, to basically make your job much easier. So if I were to add here, let's say, let's copy this, paste it again. Let's rename it to 4, for example. And let's just add here. Let's add April, and this would be 4. So I can run this and run this again. And if I take a look now at my data, data month, I'm going to have April. I'm going to have the data written. So it's going to make my job much easier to read files. And even still, if I ever wanted to then go ahead and edit this with dplyr, I could just do data months and empty cars, and I can glimpse it, for example. And this would be the exact same as if I were to just do empty cars. So instead of going variable by variable, just use lists. Lists will help you quite a lot when working with data in R. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I might go more into depth with things that I do with lists, especially with Shiny. So thanks. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and leave any comment if you have any questions. See you later.